New controversy tonight. You could put in the culture wars category after an Indiana high school's musical production apparently got scrapped just a couple of weeks before opening night because of concerns over the content of the play. It's the production of Between the Lines. This is an off-Broadway musical based on a book, same name, by author Jodi Picoult. The book and the musical both focus on the character of Delilah, who's sort of an outcast at her new high school. She gets really into reading this fairy tale when she realizes she can actually talk to the main character of the story that she's read so many times. Now, we've reached out to school officials but have not heard back, although the superintendent did tell one local outlet, Channel 27 News in Grant County, that the school was canceling the musical over concerns about sexual innuendo and alcohol references in the production, something Picoult is pushing back on. She is joining us now. So talk to us here about this sort of latest controversy that has erupted, if you will, over this musical, this book. What can you tell us about your understanding of these issues being raised and where they're coming from?
Sure. So I actually found out about it when I was in England. I was there with my co-librettist for a different show we've written, which is an adaptation of The Book Thief, which is about censorship and Nazi Germany. So it all felt very on the nose to find out that a school in Indiana had, canceled this production of Between the Lines because of one parent's complaint about the show. From what we know, the show was canceled 2 weeks before the kids put it on after hundreds of hours of rehearsal. And, we've reached out to them. We've had the Educational Theater Association reach out to them saying that we stand by them and we would love to have them, to help them put on the show in a different venue if possible.
What is your message then, Jodi, to the school? And what is your message to those students who, as you note, had worked and worked and worked so hard to get ready for these performances?
Well, it's a bigger issue. This is devastating because this is censorship in the arts. It's something that I have faced as a novelist. My book, 19 Minutes, was the most banned book in America in 2024, and I'm currently the 4th most banned writer in America. There is nothing objectionable in the Between the Lines musical, and in fact, we offer an amended version for schools to license that plays a little easier in a conservative area, which they had agreed to do. But when one parent makes a decision that affects every other parent's child, that is censorship. And one person should not be allowed to determine what is or is not appropriate.
You point out that you are no stranger to this issue around censorship, banning books, et cetera. We just showed a graphic, Jodi, of the number of your books that have faced bans over the course of the last year or so here. We pulled it up again here. This is a growing issue, obviously not just with books, with this musical now, as you have seen and as you're learning here firsthand. I wonder, how do you think about that piece of it, Jodi, this fight that you are now in some ways becoming the public face of against censorship? How do you think about that in your work? How do you think about that with your platform?
This is the second job I never wanted to hold. I certainly don't want to be the public face of banning of books and in the arts, but Between the Lines is not the first high school show that has been canceled because one parent decided it was objectionable. You can see from the graphics that you've put up, this is about a fairy tale. The message of this show is live the story you want if it's not the story you're in. That is a very wholesome message for a teen. And, there's nothing in that show that a teen hasn't seen before on TV or again, the problem is that when people start censoring the arts, you are suggesting that only certain kinds of stories and certain kinds of people's stories are worth telling. And that is problematic because that means we've already lost freedom of expression. Any American who feels that we haven't crossed that line is dead wrong. We've been mired in this morass now for several years.
There are some creators, Jodi, who may who not want to step into the public fray, the political fray, if you will, in this kind of way. You clearly are not afraid of that. You are not shying away from that. Help us understand that.
Yeah, because I do have a platform. I'm really lucky to have a platform, and I have a lot of people who, for reasons, I guess I'm quite lucky, actually want to hear what I have to say. And I think if you are lucky enough to have a platform, you need to think really hard about the message that you put out into the world. And the one that I want to put out is that representation matters, stories matter, and that one person should never be in charge of deciding what the arbiters of taste should be. That when we have individual parents making decisions for their own kids, that's one thing. When you have an individual parent making decisions for everybody else, it's quite problematic, and it's a very slippery slope. If they start telling your kids they can't perform in a show, what are they going to take away next? Are they going to tell you that certain books in your public library are books that you shouldn't be reading? That's already happening. They've pulled entire books out of library systems all over the U.S. for kids. This is purely censorship, and it's something that I think we need to be much more vocal about, because a lot of people think it's not happening in my backyard. And my response to that is yet.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.